our first topic of environmental systems and societies, we'll be studying the foundations of environmental systems and societies so that we can gain a deeper appreciation and understanding for what happens in the environments around us and how humans can impact said environment in either positive or negative ways. In this course, there are 6 big ideas. In this particular topic, there are 4. But in this particular subtopic, we'll be focusing really on what value systems are at play and the causes and approaches to resolving the issues addressed in this topic. In the notes today, we'll be defining environmental value system, technocentric, anthropocentric, and ecocentric. We'll also be applying those terms to varying environmental philosophies. But first, we have to be able to answer on what is an environmental value system. An environmental value system, or EVS, is how a person sees or values environmental issues. The environmental value system, or EVS, of an individual can be influenced by many factors, but especially culture, including religion, economics, and sociopolitics. So environmental value systems are systems that contain both inputs and outputs. So even though we'll be covering systems in more detail in our next subtopic, some examples of inputs include education. So your level of education can affect your environmental value system, religion, and then media that you consume. So these go into your thinking processes, and out comes your different perspectives, your belief systems, and then your decisions and actions. So there are 3 primary environmental value system beliefs. And this is really a spectrum, but these are the 3 main philosophies. So ecocentrism and technocentrism are on opposite sides of the spectrum, while anthropocentrism is really in the middle. So looking at this first one, ecocentrism means that we're more nature-centered. But it's not even just nature-centered. Remember that an ecosystem is the interaction between living and non-living things. So if you were an ecocentrist, meaning that you are nature-centered, you believe that you are subject to whatever nature throws at you. So you are at nature's whims. And you would have a holistic worldview. You would believe that there should be minimal disturbance of natural processes. You would integrate spiritual, social, and environmental dimensions. You would believe that there should be sustainability, for the whole earth, and restraint on resource use, and that there should be a self-reliance within a framework for global citizenship. On the other hand, how we've been brought up in our culture is to have a more anthropocentric view on things, or people-centered. So this is also known as human exceptionalism, that everything revolves around the human race, that we are the most important species on the planet, living and non-living. And actually, this concept was explored in the novel Animal Farm, when all the animals were debating which animals were more equal or not versus each other. So the qualities that you would have if you were people-centered would be that people, I'm going to abbreviate that PPL, are environmental managers of a sustainable global system. There would be population control, so that there would be equal weight would be given to resource use. This means that everyone would get kind of the same share of those natural resources, and that there would be strong regulation by independent authorities. So then on the opposite side of ecocentrism is technocentrism. And that is really what it sounds like. It's technology centered. But it's not really just technology centered. It's also has to do a lot with the economy as well. It's economy driven. So while ecocentrism believes that you have to be respectful of the interaction between living and non-living things, and you're kind of just subject to it, so nature's in control, technocentrists really believe that people control the environment. So the 5 main traits of being technocentric is that technology can keep pace with and provide solutions to environmental problems, that resource replenishment means like a renewal of resources so it comes back, will solve resource depletion, that even though we believe that humans can control the environment with the use of technology in order to benefit the economy, the humans still must have a basic understanding of the natural processes. But the intent is to control it. So technocentrism really emphasizes like scientific analysis, before policies are put into place. So there really has to be a major consensus between multiple parties or multiple community members in order for decisions to be made in order to figure out how to affect the environment. And the last thing, especially because technocentrists are economy driven, is that the markets, like the stock markets, so for example, in agriculture, those corn and soybean commodities, and then economic growth are important. So on the bottom, we have a much more generous spectrum of different types of philosophies. Now we're going to apply these three main philosophies to other varying like sub-philosophies. So if you are an ecocentrist, that also means you are something called a deep ecologist. If you find yourself kind of wavering or oscillating between ecocentrism and anthropocentrism, you would fit into the category of a self-reliant soft ecologist. So this particular personal philosophy is a combination of ecocentrism and anthropocentrism. But if you find yourself instead oscillating or wavering between anthropocentrism and technocentrism, you would find yourself in the category of environmental managers. So it's a combination of those two philosophies. And then technocentrists, pure technocentrists, are called cornucopians, which is a very, very Hunger Games-esque sounding philosophy, but it doesn't have the entire Hunger Games philosophy behind it. Just sounds really similar. So let's dive more into those sub-philosophies. So a pure personal belief in ecocentrism means that you would be a deep ecologist. So these are the things that we wrote down in the table above, and this is what it really looks like in terms of personality traits or philosophy traits. So you'll see that nature is important for the humanity of the people. We need nature. Natural laws will dictate human morality or human choice, so really nature's in charge. There's a deep belief in biological rights, that the right of endangered species or unique landscapes has to remain unmolested or really untouched. So protecting those endangered species or unique landscapes at all costs. There's no faith in modern large-scale technology because there's a dependence on elitist expertise, central state authority, and inherently anti-democratic institutions. And that materialism is just plain wrong, and that economic growth should be geared to provide for the poorest people and not to provide for the other side of the spectrum, which is the rich. But a combination of that ecocentrism, which is ecosystem focused, and anthropomorphism, which is people focused, means that you're going to be a self-reliant soft ecologist. So we're going to take these two ideas, these two EVSs, and kind of combine them. So you're going to see that in ecocentrism, we've seen a couple of these bullet points over here. So self-reliant soft ecologists still have no faith in modern large-scale technology for the same reasons as before. And that they still believe that materialism is wrong and that economic growth should be geared to provide for the poorest of your community. But they also believe that there needs to be some development so that there can be a stronger community. They believe that by integrating work and leisure through personal and communal improvement, they can also improve the environment around them. And they also believe that it's important to participate in community affairs. So it's a really nice split between being ecocentric and anthropocentric in order to be a self-reliant soft ecologist. So then a combination of anthropomorphism, anthropocentrism, Sorry about that. So you still are pretty people-centered, but you also believe that technology can do some good for the environmental around you. It means that you're an environmental manager. So the people-centered things in this side of the table is that environmental managers believe that compensation should be given to people who are negatively affected by actions caused by either big companies or by governmental agencies such as the EPA. They also believe that economic and resource use decisions based on consensus among parties involved, because you're really making sure that you're not understanding what the people really want. But then if you're technocentric, remember that you believe that technology is really the main answer. You believe that science can help you solve these problems, that we can control nature, and that economic and market growth are the most important. So anything economic growth and resource use can continue simultaneously as long as there's appropriate taxes and fees are adjusted, that there's legal rights to minimum environmental qualities. This is where governmental agencies like the EPA would come in. And then coming down here, this last bullet point is really kind of a combination of the two, so that you want to grow market resources, but you also need to make sure that the people are benefiting as well as the markets. And the last piece, that if you have a pure personal belief in technocentrism, means that you'd be cornucopian. So if you were fully into the technology camp, you'd believe that people will always find a way out of difficulties, kind of a little perseverance there, that economic growth defines the value of a project. If you're optimistic about the human's ability to improve the lives of others through science and controlling the environment, scientific and technological expertise will guide economic growth, public health, and safety. They're suspicious of consensus building approach to decision making. So really they want like kind of a higher up or like an administrative office to make decisions and have it kind of trickle down to the people. It's pretty anti-democratic. And then all obstacles can be overcome with sufficient will, ingenuity, and resources generated by economic growth, and not necessarily replenishing the actual natural resources that are being used up by the world's population. So now we're going to see how much you understand or have engaged in the topic. So at the bottom of the page, I'd really appreciate if you did this check for understanding. So which type of environmental value system do you currently relate to the most? I need you to explain your choice using terms from the above tables. I would like you to research, and I superficially put the word Google there, but you understand what I mean. The environmental green movement, and which EVS does it relate to? And I want you to justify your response from this particular box using terms from the above table. So you will not get full credit unless this part is done, because this means that you've actually applied some of the knowledge that you gained today. I'll see you next time in class.